Hey everybody, I'm going to do a quick video on how to do a rear lift kit on a Lexus CT 200H. And these are the Prius Offroad lift kits. And if you're not familiar with their product, you might want to check them out if you have a Prius or a Lexus because they are wonderful products. They get your car up a little bit higher for a lot more clearance. And I think overall the car looks a little bit better as they sit up higher and allows you to put larger tires and wheels on your Prius and your Lexus. So when you look at the Lexus CT200, there's not a whole lot of videos on YouTube on how to do it. There is a video on there that refers to the Gen 4 Prius lift kit because they have a similar independent rear suspension, but there are a few differences that you might want to be aware of because this can throw you a little bit. So one of the things you're going to notice, I'm going to come underneath here. Sorry about the camera here. So the Lexus has a plastic cover that goes over here. So just be aware that this has to come off first to access some of this stuff on here. This is not in any other videos. And if you live up north, I would definitely do whatever you can to spray those bolts there, your shock bolt and your knuckle bolt, liberally with some kind of a penetrating fluid. And then you have this bolt right here, which is your sway bar end link bolt. You want to get all that, rust off of there. Although these I'm in Wisconsin, and this seems to come off pretty easily. You also have a bracket here. You only really need to take off this bolt here and this bolt here because this will give you enough flexibility once you pull that down to get the spring out. Now I'm going to spin around to this side so you can get a better look as the wheel's off. So this is the one side that I had a lot of problems with. Couple bolts here. You're going to see the knuckle bolt is in there right now, and the shock bolt is out. Well, the knuckle bolt's in there because I could not get it out because the sleeve was welded or rusted to the bolt, and that bolt would not come out. So I tried air hammers. I've tried everything, and the only thing that's going to have to be able to that we're going to have to do eventually is cut the bolt off and replace the knuckle because I'm not going to mess with trying to press a new bushing into there. So what I had to do is, and this is what a lot of people do anyway, is drop the suspension arm here from the shackle on the frame. And when you do this, you want to know what you're doing and be careful because the spring's under a lot of pressure and that thing can kill you. So you want to have a jack under here. And since right here, where's my finger going? There we go. So right here, when you put a jack on here and you try to jack this up, the jack's going to want to slide because there's nothing to catch onto. So I just had a bolt and I stuck that in. That gives the jack cup something to sit on. And when you pull the bolt off here, what's going to want to happen is your knuckle is going to want to push in to the shackle here. So it's going to not line up really easily. So getting the spring out is obviously a lot more easy than trying to put the spring back because the spring is smaller when you take it out, and when you put it back in, you've got an 1.5 inch spacer in there. And when you go to line the shackle back up, this is not going to be anywhere near where it needs to be. So you're going to have to get a pry bar under here. You're going to have to get a jack under here, all the while laying on the ground, or if you have a lift, having some kind of a way you can put a jack underneath here, like with a board going across, which is what I did, and using a pry bar. And this is really tight, trying to pry this thing to get that bolt back in. But this bolt here actually came out. That bolt did not. And I would say that if you can get this bolt out and that shock bolt out, then the rest of it's easy. And that's how I would do it. The other side, I didn't have a whole lot of problems with. This one's taken me a long time. So that once you get the shock spacer in there, you push the and you can follow the other video because it's basically the same, but I wanted to point out the differences that there are a few more bolts on this one. It looks a little bit different. It's got a plastic cover. It's got a shock bolt there, and it has this metal bracket that has to come down. So you may look at it and go, if you use common sense, you're like, well, obviously all that stuff has to come down. But it is different, and it can be done. I don't know. Yeah, up here in the north where there's so much rust, I just don't like working on a whole lot of suspension stuff anyway. But anyway, that's kind of what you're going to find the differences are. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I ran into. It's pretty straightforward. If you watch the video for the Gen 4, the concept is the same. All you're doing is you're dropping the control arm here at the knuckle, and you're pulling the spring out. And then you're putting your spacer back in, and you're compressing, you're jacking up the control arm again to match up with this. And these bolts do seem to, these are a lot easier to match up and line up, to be honest with you, the knuckle bolts. But if you can't get that bolt out because the bolt is seized to the sleeve inside the bushing and it's just going to sit in there spin, and you've tried everything, now you're into a bigger job because you have to replace the knuckle, or at least have a lot more tools at your, it becomes less of a DIY job and more of a suspension shop or an automotive shop kind of job. So these are things you can run into. Again, if you live in Arizona or Florida or something like that, you're probably not going to have this problem, and it's going to be a pretty straightforward. But just know that there are a few more bolts that are not listed. Your, sway bar end link bar, the bracket here, the plastic cover, and then there's a shock bolt that you're just not going to see in that video. So anyway, I hope that video helps. I was trying to find a video kind of that would be more specific to this car, and I was not able to find it. But if anything changes, I'll put an update out there. Thanks for watching.